All right. And I'm going to get started. Good morning, everyone. This is Read, Right, and Wrong, an author chat show where we discuss everything we've read, what we're writing, and what's wrong with it all. I'm your host, Robert Martin, and today I'm talking all things theater with playwright Peter Fenton, whose new play, Sea Amid the Winter Snow, was released on November 17th, just in time for the holidays with City Limits Publishing. Peter, welcome.
Hi, it's so great to be here.
Great to have you here. All right, so my favorite first question to all of my guests, and I think it's probably one of the dreaded questions that everyone gets. Tell us about yourself.
Oh boy. Well, what do you want to know? I guess top of line would be I'm based in the Philadelphia area, about an hour due north of Center City. I live in a um, little touristy town on the Delaware River called New Hope, and been living here a couple months. And anyway, that's where I'm from. But I'm a comedian. I think that is mostly what my discipline is.
Okay.
I'm and the way that I've leveraged comedy is through writing scripts. So I've written 4 plays, 1 screenplay. I would love to write a novel at some point in my life, but I don't think I'm there yet. I'm a dialogue writer and a comedian.
All right.
Yeah.
All
What
right.
else
Well,
do you want to know?
well,
That's
you
like the
say,
very short. That's the 1 minute version.
right. You
Yeah.
say you said about an hour due north of Philadelphia. I think those
Yeah.
of us who just got over all of the Pennsylvania election drama, we very much know where you are from because we saw
Yes.
them touch the state of Philadelphia on their wall maps for days on end while we
Oh,
waited.
absolutely. So, for those of you who now know the counties of Pennsylvania, I live in Bucks County, and I grew up in Lancaster County. So, I grew up in a red county, and I live in a blue county. I'm very happy with the color Pennsylvania turned.
All
Let's say.
right. All right. And fun fact, I actually used to go to Lancaster, Pennsylvania quite a bit. My grandmother
Really
lived there. Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, my
So,
parents still live out there.
okay. Yeah.
It's
It's a
a it's a
great,
nice it's a nice place to be from.
yeah, it's a
Um,
great little town.
yeah, it's a nice place to raise a family. I'm 25 and single and not straight, so it's not really a place I want to live right now. But it's a great place to have a childhood.
So you're saying you're not Amish, is what you're telling us.
Yes, very much not Amish. I my parents attend a progressive Mennonite church out in Lancaster, so I do have some connection to, uh, you know, the faith because Amish are Mennonites who, like, a group of people within the Mennonite church who decided the Mennonite church wasn't conservative enough, so they went deeper. Um, so there's a little bit of connective tissue there.
Okay. All right. Very interesting. All right. Well, let's jump on into our first segment. This one's called Recent Readings. And Peter, specifically with you, we're going to talk plays today, since you are our first playwright.
True.
What are some plays that you've been reading?
Well, most recently, the latest play that I've read was actually the other offering from City Limits Publishing, Lithium, Xanax, and All of My Friends. So I read that. It was great.
Well, thank you very much. I guess I can go on ahead and plug myself there.
Please do.
That's fantastic. Well, thank you. Tell me, what your impressions were. What do you think?
Well, I think the mark of a good play is that you can read it in one sitting,
Yes.
and that is what I did. So I would say it was definitely it was a page turner, and I kind of saw the plot twist coming,
Uh-huh.
but it still was worth it. And I
Okay.
love that there were 2 different endings, and explicitly in the script it says, however the actor's feeling is the ending that we go with.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really interesting. Because I mean, my favorite movie of all time is the Clue movie, right? Which also has multiple endings. So I don't know. I thought it was interesting.
Yeah. You know, the whole point behind that is that an audience can go see the play twice and come out leave feeling completely different each time, just based on the last 10 seconds. So,
and it's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
And both endings make complete sense. Now, I mean, I'm more on the sense of I would prefer the happier ending.
Sure.
As I think most people would. I don't like walking out of a theatrical production feeling more disturbed than I was.
Sure.
But I think both endings are really effective.
Sure. Have you ever seen or read Blackbird by chance?
No. Tell me about Blackbird.
All right. So that is it's a fantastic play. It was most recently on Broadway, I guess maybe about 5 years ago, with Jeff Daniels and Michelle Williams. Both of them were fantastic. Michelle Williams comes back and confronts her former stepfather for abusing her. And that was the first play that I ever saw that made me walk out of the theater a completely different person.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I highly recommend. Highly recommend.
Now, was that an inspiration for your piece?
You know, it was not.
Okay.
The inspiration behind mine, and not to put the interview on me, but the inspiration behind mine, it was one of those where I wrote it in a night. But
wow.
I wrote
the mark of a good play being read in one sitting, let alone
being written
in one sitting.
Yeah, it was one of those where I had gotten home, I had prepared some dinner, and I thought, I thought about really for me, it was the title, and then I just kind of built the story from there, and I wrote it in one night. And the title, for those of you that don't know, is Lithium and Xanax and All of My Friends. And it's about a character who is trying to write his novel. He's been working on it for years. And all of his friends kind of gather around with him this one night to help him finish writing this novel. But it's I mean, back to Blackbird, for me, it was what you were describing. It was one of those kind of transformative moments of theater, which I guess leads me to a question for you. What are some of your transformative moments of theater?
I've talked about this before, actually. My favorite play is The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime.
Love that.
It was on Broadway for a period of time, but I actually saw a regional recreation of it at the theater I was working at in Philly. It was both a human transformative experience, but it was also a writer transformative experience. It actually influenced a lot of the writing style of See Amid, which is funny because when you read See Amid, I don't think you would get Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime out of it.
Very true. Very, very true.
Actually, not at all, because Curious Incident is sort of a mystery box. I would say Curious Incident is a comedy. It's not as much of a laugh out loud comedy. Sure. It's more of a, the story structure is of a comedy. Sure. Right? But I would say, so on the human level, I mean, just watching the story of somebody on the spectrum and having it be treated so well and so effectively, that brought me to tears. I was working in house management for this show.
Okay.
So I heard and saw the show a lot. And I don't know, it never failed to hit me. Just the relationship the boy has with his parents, and just the way that he discovered how everything fit together. It's a really good script.
Absolutely.
And really good performances. Yes, the novel's good too. I read that after the fact. And so, but on a writer level, this was the first time that I really saw a small cast double as a lot of different roles.
Sure.
And it was what got me thinking, because before, my first two plays that I had ever written were written for schools. So the idea was give as much opportunity to as many people as possible. So like, if you read my first two plays, Knights of the Square Table and The Thousand Year Rose, they're like minimum cast of 15, ideally like 25. And that's just not really feasible in professional theater.
Sure.
No, not at all. And so when I was going to Mount See Amid, I was trying to figure out ways of getting the cast down to a manageable number. Because, you know, when you hire actors professionally, you have to pay them. And paying 25 actors is a very different story than paying 8 actors.
Absolutely.
So just seeing how The Curious Incident effectively used a cast of 10 to play like 50 different roles, that was what got me thinking, okay, how can I effectively tell a story with just a few people? And I mean, you see that in See Amid, and you'll see that in Abandon All Hope when we get there. Yeah, it transformed me as a writer. Doubling is king in theater.
Yeah. Have you ever seen or read Every Christmas Story Ever Told and Then Some?
Ooh, no, but that sounds like a great companion piece for See Amid.
Oh my goodness. I have been fortunate enough to be in that show a few times as an actor.
Really?
Yeah, it's along the lines of, you know, everybody's doubling up multiple times. But basically these three characters or these three actors are fed up performing A Christmas Carol for the umpteenth time and decide that they are going to perform every Christmas story ever told, plus sing every Christmas song ever sung.
Okay.
In a 90-minute period.
Ooh.
So it's very much along the lines of like the complete works of William Shakespeare Abridged. Shows like that. The Complete History of America. But it's just so funny. And I'll tell you, when I was reading See Amid, that's originally what I kept thinking of, and what I kept going back to. And I have to say that it's, you know, I think you've done such a good job at capturing you know, that holiday spirit. Which of course we'll talk about, you know, in a few minutes when we talk about your actual story. But what about some lesser known or kind of underrated plays or pieces of theater? Do you have any thoughts, anything that our readers should be looking for on their next trip to the used bookstore?
So it's an interesting question, thinking about all-time plays that I like. So I've got a few, and I don't know if they're mainstream or lesser known, but like I love Arsenic and Old Lace. It's a classic all-time dark comedy, just like little old ladies murdering people. It's perfect. I love it. I was in a production of Arsenic when I was in 9th grade, you know, because, you know, we did our high school plays, and I played one of the cops. It was a good time.
Okay.
Little 14-year-old Peter in a cop suit. And so I love that one. I also love Inherit the Wind, which that was one that I had to read in English class in, I think, 10th grade. And that one is one that stuck with me. It was, you know, which I think it would be fitting actually if we talked about that with Abandon All Hope. You know, it's talking about the organized religion and evolution being taught. It's the Scopes monkey trial retelling in a play form.
Sure.
So Inherit the Wind is another one that I really like.
Okay.
I don't know. So those are the two that are jumping to mind.
Okay. Yeah, there is a one-act play called Tea for Two. And it's I like to think of it as Arsenic and Old Lace, but about 15 years later.
Okay.
And basically is these two older daughters trying to kill their mother. It's absolutely brilliant, and it's so funny. But I don't think you were even involved in high school theater if you weren't in or saw a production of Arsenic and Old Lace. I mean, it's just it's a high school theater staple. So
yeah, that's true.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, good time.
All right. Yeah. So let's jump ahead to our next segment, which is Writing Away. Now you have a new play that was just released, See Amid the Winter Snow. So tell us about it. Tell us about your play.
Okay. So See Amid the Winter Snow was kind of born out of this idea that Christmas media tends to be phoned in.
Okay.
Like I love Christmas, right? I think if you ever read See Amid, you will know how much I love Christmas. And it bothers me how little thought gets put into so much of Christmas media. Like, I mean, you watch your Hallmark shows and your just various different cash grabby media things, and it just bothered me that there weren't a lot of works that felt like really like they really took the time to make them fully fledged stories. So that's sort of where it started. So what we end up with is it's a parody of the snowman from Rudolph telling the story of Santa Claus's publicist. And we're really just following a simple love story between him and a school teacher in the village. Mm-hmm. But Santa Claus's publicist is swamped with the story of a blackmail scandal emerging in Santa's workshop while Mrs. Claus is running for mayor of the North Pole. Also, I came up with this idea around the time of the 2016 election, and I was going through a lot of feelings, so I turned Mrs. Claus into Hillary.
Okay.
And yeah, so we're following that story. So it all comes together, but over the course of the play, you realize that this was actually a long-winded setup to retell Little Red Riding Hood.
Mm.
And I mean, I guess that's a spoiler, but I think it's funny going in knowing that.
Sure.
Because like the pieces are all there, and it's kind of fun when you're watching a story come together. That's why I like to know what a story is, how it ends. See, I don't care about spoilers because I like knowing what's going to happen so that I'm looking for it.
Sure.
Right?
Sure. And I'll tell you, there's so many delightful little holiday nuggets in there, so many delightful little moments. But I do love this political story that kind of shines through. But I also want to say the world that you have created here, being a big fan of the holidays of Christmas. I'm currently sitting here next to my Christmas tree on November 17th.
We're for the listener at home, we are recording this on launch day.
Yeah, on
really
launch
fun.
Day. That's very true. But being here and being in November, especially November 2020, where my Christmas tree went up on November 1st, first time ever. I love the holiday aspect, and when I picture it, I can see that the little claymation Rudolph North Pole kind of, setting. But you also have, you've built up this traditional world, but you've modernized it quite a bit.
Yeah.
You've brought forward some of the traditions. So kind of talk to us about that. How did you build this world?
It's interesting. I wanted to think about what would it be like if the descriptions of Santa Claus that we've always seen were true, right? But like taken a step closer to reality.
Mm-hmm.
And just thinking about how like most of the mythos of Santa Claus stems from a poem that was written in the 1800s, right? A Visit from St. Nicholas, what we normally know as 'Twas the Night Before Christmas. And sort of all of our understanding of Santa Claus comes from that, and a couple claymation specials from the 60s. And I think Elf was another work that kind of did this a little bit, where the world is very modern, but the Santa Claus mythos is true.
Sure.
And so I was just thinking about, so what does Santa Claus's world look like? Like, how does this town work? Like, if Santa's workshop is Amazon, basically, how does this work? How are there people making it happen? Like, what are the workshop elves doing? And I think it's really important to not, like, if Santa Claus is sort of the biggest good there is in the world, I don't want his elves to be his slaves.
Sure.
And I think a lot of Christmas media, or a lot of like deconstructive parodies of Santa Claus, paint him as that. But I really wanted to make Santa a good-hearted person.
Sure.
And the world was a lot smaller in the 1800s. The world is a lot bigger now, and he's had to keep up with it. So I was just trying to paint this world of like, okay, what does a day in the life look like here? And I don't know if that answered your question, but those were some of the thoughts.
Yeah.
No, and I think having Mrs. Claus have an actual thing to do was a great choice.
Yeah. It's not just what is it, in claymation, it's just eat, Papa, eat,
right,
but actually giving a purpose there. I think that's a very modern adaptation in and of itself. So that's great.
Mrs. Claus is never really given a name either. She's just Santa's wife.
Yep.
And I just have a feeling if Santa Claus is this huge figure, this like good Jeff Bezos type, the good version. And who would he be married to? And it sort of became like a Bill and Melinda Gates situation. Like just thinking about that power couple.
Okay.
About like, this couple that's giving so much of themselves and just trying to make the world a better place. I would think the two of them would be huge figures at the North Pole. So what was the biggest figure I could possibly make her that would be unknown to the rest of the world, but well known up there, would be Mayor. Right?
Yeah. So you have a lot of really rich characters that you've really developed throughout the course of the script. But who was your favorite character to write?
Once I found his voice, actually, that's a tougher question than I was about to answer. Because the snowman is the obvious answer, right?
Sure.
Once I found the voice for the snowman, like once I turned the snowman into Dolly Parton, it worked, right? He's just so fun to just pop in there and have a comment on the scene. Like, there's one point where he interrupts and points out that there was no way she actually thought this, right? It's toward the end. I won't spoil it, but I just love that he's sort of a stand-in for my voice as the writer.
Okay.
So that was a lot of fun, but also it was so much fun writing the dope who's running against Mrs. Claus for mayor of the North Pole.
Sure.
That was another voice that, like, once I found the voice for him, it was a lot of fun. So I had originally written him like 45, but that wasn't fun.
Okay.
It just wasn't fun writing him.
Uh-huh.
So I was just trying to figure out what I was going to do with the Challenger. And I landed on sort of like a male Sarah Palin. And that was a lot more fun to write. Sure. And he was actually like, he became likable.
Mm-hmm.
He's a dope, but he's likable, you know?
Which is very much like, you know, the real Sarah Palin.
Exactly. I think in the script as published, I have the snowman comment and say he'd be more at home governing Alaska than having a real political career.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So what has the response been so far for CMED? What kind of feedback are you getting?
You know, it was, so we had our world premiere in September 2019, which, again, having a Christmas show in September is hilarious. But we did surprisingly well at the Philly Fringe Festival. It was just, you know, three of us, the director, the woman who played Daisy in our production, and me. The three of us pooled our resources and we pulled together this Fringe Festival show, and people seem to really like it.
Great.
You know, I think it struck a chord with people that this was a Christmas show that had thought behind it.
Sure.
And it was like a bit of a satire of the holiday lore, but it also was like a pretty good straight version of holiday stuff. You know, we were sold out for our closing show. That was almost entirely word of mouth.
That's fantastic.
We had standing room only, which was great.
Wow. That's fantastic. Now, I hear that you have another play coming out next year.
You
give us the little 30-second blurb about what we can expect from you next.
Oh, goodness. So this is a very different direction from CMID. And I think it came as a surprise to a lot of people because mostly so far I had only written family-friendly comedy adventures. This one is called Abandon All Hope. It is set in hell.
You mean that's not a family-friendly comedy adventure?
No, surprisingly not. I curse a couple times in the script, and we just handle heavier stuff.
Sure.
So basically what that story is, it's only 4 actors, and we're following the story of a scrappy feminist, a naive evangelical, and a cocky logistician who have all arrived in hell together. And hell for them, because they're all 19 years old, is a college dorm room. And it's only set up for 2 people. And they're being tortured by this demon who's taken the form of like a fun wine mom. She's like in her mid-40s. She's just like likes a good laugh. And so she has challenged the 3 of them to, she says, I'm going to let one of you into heaven. But in order to do so, you are sealing the fate of the other 2. And they'll be tortured for eternity with a demon at the height of her power. So we're following the 3 of them, and all of them have a different approach to how they're gonna get to heaven, or if they're going to try. And we just sort of look into why they are in hell, because of course the evangelical Christian really doesn't believe he belongs in hell. And so we're just dealing through a lot of character study. And I mean, I have to say, it is my funniest script. I love this one.
Great. Well, our readers definitely have, our listeners definitely have something to look forward to with that one.
Yeah. But if you are expecting a Siamid follow-up with this script, I don't think you're getting it.
Think again.
Yeah.
All right. So that's going to bring us to our final segment, which I like to call All the Wrongs. All right. So we're going to get all the wrongs. So we're going to get candid here. First, we're going to start with other playwrights and other plays. What is one play that you just could not get into that everyone else said you had to read or see and would just love? So something overrated.
Well, I mean, I don't think the universal reception of this one is super great, but I didn't love Harry Potter and the Cursed Child.
Okay.
That was, I feel like they made a lot of story mistakes, and it wasn't a great script. I've heard if you see it live, it's better, but I did only read the script. And I mean, it wasn't written by J.K. Rowling, not that she's a figure that we are celebrating these days, but it just felt kind of flaccid.
Okay.
Just the story and the characters.
Okay.
That was one that I didn't love.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. For me, one that everyone said you have to see, you'll absolutely love it. And this, I guess, is not even really, well, you know what? I can make it a play. I cannot stand The Glass Menagerie. Cannot stand it. And I love Tennessee Williams, but that play just falls flat for me.
What is it about it?
Oh Lord, I don't even know. Okay, you know what? Even better, Death of a Salesman. I think there's only one developed character in that whole show, and you cannot like him.
Yeah.
So for me,
he's designed to be unlikable.
I know, but that's the problem. I mean, I think there has to be some sort of redeeming quality. There has to be some sort of something to make you like the person, and you can't.
Yeah.
So that's my problem. I couldn't handle it. So, and everybody said you'll love it. I even saw it twice because my friend was in it and didn't love it.
No.
So, all right, let's talk about you as a playwright. Any instances where you got it wrong?
I mean, obviously, of course, I have, because we're human, right? I was actually talking about this on the Instagram takeover, that my best fuel as a writer is when I'm told something has fallen flat, because I get very motivated to fix it.
Okay.
Because I believe in my ideas, right? So, but a specific example when I got it wrong with Siamid in the early drafts, the woman who directed Siamid, she was a huge help for me. Amanda Pasquini, she does great work, good friend. She sat down with me after she finished reading it. She said, "I like this script. You don't know how to write women." Basically, so the characters of Daisy and Idolin were kind of flat initially, and I guess I just hadn't realized that I hadn't written them well until someone told me this doesn't work. Um, she was like, they should have hobbies or ambitions. So that's how, as we got closer to publication and as we see in the final published edition, like the original version of those characters were that Idolin was getting ready for her wedding, and Daisy didn't really have any ambitions of her own. But then we ended up morphing that into Idolin's remodeling her house, and Daisy wants to found her own school. Which, if you read the script, it's like, how was that not always there? Because I think they're both pretty well-rounded female characters, but like, it was just having a woman tell me, "You don't know how to write women." That was a really sobering experience for me.
Sure, I imagine.
And I mean, as a gay man, as somebody who doesn't subscribe necessarily to the patriarchy, like, I would have thought of myself as someone who can write women and other non-men.
Yep. Yeah. You know, that's what's I mean, that's so interesting that you bring that up, because we're dealing right now, you know, as a society with this whole issue of representation and, you know, diversity and inclusiveness in projects. And you know, you're seeing a lot of projects, a lot of TV shows, a lot of films even that are bringing on these kind of these co-creators or co-writers to add in that Black voice or that female voice or that, you know, disabled voice, whatever it may be. You know, and so yeah, I mean, it's I mean, bravo to you for being able to take the note, though, you know, and say, maybe I'm not writing this right for a woman, and maybe I should listen to the feedback, because it could have been very easy for you to just have said, you know, okay, that's one opinion, and then left it. But, you know, as it stands now, it's a very strong, you have a very strong voice there for a female, you know, for a female character.
Sure. Yeah, I think it grew into something good.
Yeah.
I think just one of the biggest things for righting wrongs is being able to empathize with the voice of the critic. Trying to put yourself in their shoes. How would they read this?
Sure.
Because, like, when you're the writer, you are just one opinion.
Yep.
It's like, I think a lot of writers, myself included, need to let go of the idea that we're God.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that we're not as much God as we are like a journalist.
We're just the holders of the pen, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing, you know, some people hold a pen better than others, but that doesn't mean that you know, other pens aren't stronger and other holders aren't stronger. So, you know, good point. Very good point.
Like, as I was preparing the foreword for Abandon All Hope, I wrote it out, and then I had one of my college roommates read it, who, you know, shared a dorm room with me. And he said, "Wow, it sounds like you really hated me." It was like, wait. And then I reread it, thinking from the perspective of, oh, this person was offended by what I said. Let me look for it. And I was like, oh, wow, this was some really harsh language I had for my experience living in a college dorm room. And then I reworked it and I made it better, and now it's a great forward.
Yeah, and you know what's so interesting about like the editing and revising process is that really is our chance to look back on our work and um, try and view it through different lenses, and get that critique from others, but then kind of try and put ourselves in other people's shoes. Um, it's such a crucial step for all writers to take. um and that's why I always encourage writers to have beta readers
Mhm.
before even going through the full editing process. Have someone read it, just to know before you edit something and start to think that you're locking it down. Know what the other points of view are on your topics, on your work, on your story, on the voices of your characters, things like that.
Mhm. Absolutely. Yeah, it's a sobering experience
Hmm.
getting feedback.
Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely.
sometimes even from feedback from people who love you very much.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, it's it is tough to receive that.
Yeah, I know when I wrote the original draft of Lithium and Xanax,
Hmm.
I gave the script to a friend of mine who is a mental health professional, and I said, "Would you just mind reading this and taking a look?" And I mean, there was not a line that wasn't scrutinized, and so much of that play is now different because of that, and I think better
Yeah.
and more real to the characters are more real. And I think that shines in your work as well, especially hearing that you had someone talk to you about that whole female voice, and the writing female characters. you know you must have really taken that criticism to heart, that critique to heart,
Yeah.
because I think that the characters are so rich now. um
That's awesome. It's awesome to hear that.
yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, I think also you have to respect the voice that it's coming from
Hmm.
when you receive criticism. So, like, when I think about Amanda's words to me, I mean, Amanda was the woman I was trusting to direct the
Hmm.
script. And like she and I had similar creative vision. So, like, that was somebody who I could receive that from.
Sure.
So, it's like, I think there's an important distinction of like, you have to find those quality voices
Hmm.
to give you feedback that you're ready to hear,
Hmm.
you know?
Yep.
Or even if you're not ready to hear it,
But you
have it
need
come
to.
from a quality voice, a voice that you respect,
Yeah,
because it'll
absolutely.
be better.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Well, Peter, it has been wonderful talking to you, and I truly appreciate you being on my podcast today. Uh,
Absolutely.
and I'm
This
I'm
was
so
fun.
excited. I'm so excited to see that your play has officially been released, and I
Yes.
cannot wait for everyone to read it. Folks, you can get "See Amid the Winter Snow" today on citylimitspublishing.com or everywhere that books are sold online. And Peter, I'm proud to be the first to tell you that in January you'll even be in bookstores. So
Hey, that's so
yeah,
exciting. This is
pretty
news to me.
exciting. Yeah. So,
Cool.
um,
Wow.
Peter, again, thank you so much. Any final thoughts for our listeners today?
Oh goodness. I I don't know if there is much to be said that hasn't already been said. I think See Amid the Winter Snow is a great addition to your bookshelf. You should definitely go order it.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you all for listening. I'm Robert Martin, and this is Read, Right, and Wrong.